Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Be sure to follow us on IG, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where I bring voices, stories, and laughter to the mic to simply help normalize hard conversations with love, cheer you on as you give yourself permission to live and redefine self as you join and engage in our sister friend tribe. We encourage our community to focus on areas of growth, becoming better versions of self each day, and exercising in faith over fear. Come on and join our sister friend tribe where we just have a good old time and laugh and share our authentic stories and have good conversation. Go ahead and grab your favorite drink and chime in. Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Today, I have some dynamic women with me, some movers and shakers here in the community. Chanda Wingo, Diona Clark, Jessica Grimes, and Mahogany. They are coming here with me today to talk about being single. But before we jump into the episode, let's give today's affirmation. And of course, today's affirmation is ladies, it is okay to be single. We are going to normalize singleness. Let's jump into the episode. Why you've chosen to be single, Jess?
Okay, so honestly, I didn't choose to be single. So I technically been single my whole life. And when family and friends say, "When you gonna settle down? Are you dating?" I'm like, if I was dating, you would be the first to know, so you would leave me alone. And yeah, I just people have said like you're unapproachable, you look mean. I'm like, how am I looking mean? And I'm always smiling. So if I would say I didn't choose to be single.
Okay, Deanna and Bear, do you all want to tackle that question?
I'll tackle it. Thank you so much. And I agree with both Shonda and Jessica. But what I would say for myself is that I did choose to be single. Um, at some point during my marriage, and I'm a twice divorcee, I chose myself and decided that my mental health and that I was more important than what was happening in the marriage in both situations. And so one of the things I realized, and Shonda, I appreciate you bringing up the trauma and the healing. One thing that I've realized in going through therapy is that there's always a root to our triggers. And when that trauma is not addressed, it comes out in triggers and it manifests itself in other ways. And so your reaction, you may not know why you react to something, but it could be related to trauma that stems from rejection or abuse or what have you. And so one of the things that I'm taking the time to do now, first of all, my divorce really is not just now really public. I've been divorced for over a year and separated for more than two. But most people are just now finding out. So surprise for the ones who didn't know, I'm single. but I am choosing to take the time to really heal from those wounds. And I will not ever sit up and demean or degrade my ex because, to be quite honest, those were my traumas and my triggers that I have to heal from. I'm not absolving him from anything, but I acknowledge my part. And that is a huge thing that I have recognized by going through therapy is being able to say, I had a part and a role in this as well. So that I'm not carrying those things into the next relationship if I choose to become involved in another relationship. So that's where I am today, just self discovery, becoming more self aware of my own triggers and traumas, because sometimes we push things down so much, we don't even realize that our triggers are tied to a trauma or forget the trauma. We may forget the event, but we don't forget how it made us feel. I may not be able to articulate why this made me feel a certain way, but it's connected to a trauma from early childhood that I may have forgotten about. I could have been two or three. So that's where I am now, truly self discovery, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
For
Thank you
me,
for
I
taking
echo everything
ownership.
that
That's
I'm
dope.
sorry.
No. I just wanted to tell her thank you for taking ownership. That's really dope because you recognize, like, I had a part in this too, right? And it's just huge that you are taking ownership and going to therapy. First of all, I want to say Congratulations for going to therapy because it's not something most of us say yes to. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Diona, you have the floor.
Sorry, I apologize for just jumping in, but I echo everything that each one of the ladies on this call has said. As far as being single, I did choose to be single. I was engaged. My engagement was made public, but I saw some things within our relationship where I knew that I wasn't healed, and so I didn't want to. My thing was like I didn't want to break another man. He may have had his issues that he has or had, but I did not want to take the responsibility of breaking another man, going into a marriage knowing that there were things that I did not heal from. And so, in knowing that, I called the engagement off. And immediately after that, I went on ahead and I sat down with a therapist and worked through my rooted issues, which dated back to when I was a child, that I carried from that little girl all the way up to adolescence and past that and into womanhood. And so, recognizing that and knowing that, I was just like, I gotta pull the trigger on this. Like, I cannot go into this marriage and be asking for a divorce in 3 months. Like, I'd rather stop now and be where we are than go into it in 3 months knowing that it's not going to work. So it was more so like I chose me, but again, I did not want to break another man and him have that on him and then going into another relationship with what I did to him.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being transparent too. Because this is a well needed discussion that I don't think we have many of. So I'm actually answer the question too. And I don't know if I would say singleness chose me or if I chose singleness because I wasn't the girl or woman that grew up saying I wanted to be married. That just was never, it was never in my foresight. And it wasn't until about maybe 3 or 4 years ago where I really start doing some of the work. Like, why didn't I never wanted to be married? Why didn't I grow up saying I wanted to be married? And I realized it's because I didn't have any healthy marriages to mimic. Like every single person I knew, other than probably my cousin and a good friend of mine, but that was well into my 30s. I didn't grow up seeing healthy marriages, right? They were all dysfunctional marriages, arguing and fighting, and who the hell wants that, right? So I didn't grow up saying that I wanted to be married. So I don't know if I want to say singleness chose me or if I chose singleness. But we here now, and I'm single, right? And even in relationships, I realized when you are dating other people who grew up in mom and dad marriage household, there are significant differences when you are dating and you're like, what's normal to them isn't necessarily normal to you, right? And so there were some lessons learned in that. And so I'm single, okay? Taking applications. Anyway, so we're gonna jump into the next question. The next question is for Mahogany and Jessica. Tell me the challenges you have being single and being in the dating game.
So for me, I have no challenges because I'm not in the dating game. Interesting that you said that though, because I am on a podcast called the Dear Sis podcast, and they're actually doing a dating game for me. And it's crazy because I'm so uncomfortable with it. I don't know whether I'm ready or not. One of my challenges is that because I've been divorced twice, I'm only 46 and my relationships have been long. I've never been single. I don't know what it is to date. I don't know what it is to go out with a person and not marry them. And so I guess if I was out there dating, one of my challenges would be for myself, don't take it so seriously. I don't know what it's like to date in 2024. It's different. And I've never dated in my life, to be honest with you. So I guess my challenge is how naive I am around dating.
I would say, agreeing with Mahogany, I'm kind of naive too, because growing up in the church, like literally, I had a plan, college, The dean's list, with magna cum laude. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, where would I be? I have a corner office with a Mercedes, the house, and 2.5 kids, and I'm pregnant with my third. That's how planned it went. Now, I would say the difficult or like the challenges will be getting out there and stop being like a scary cat. Because I realize in certain situations, I'm verbatim. However, when it comes to, I don't know, love life, I'm like, oh God, please, no, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't. If I see a friend request, I'm like, is this the one? Is this the one? And I've been trying to consciously stop thinking that everybody could be my husband in a sense, and just wait, being in this single period, loving myself and waiting for what God has for me. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But I would say, like, a challenge would be, it is lonely sometimes. Of course, like, I have my mom, my sister, my friends. However, I want somebody who's like my person. Like, my sister's my person, but I can't kiss and love on her like that, you know? And it's like the idea, and like somebody said earlier, like seeing marriages, like my grandparents were married for 50 years. So that's the only relationship technically other than like people from church, but my day to day seeing 50 years worth of love and marriage. But yeah, being alone is sometimes just like the loneliness never felt so quiet. You know, you're in a quiet room, it's quiet, but you still like that silence is so loud, if that makes any sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. Deanna and Shonda, you all want to tackle that question?
Let me tap. Look, let me tap into this.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, what challenges ain't out there? Like, okay, so for me personally, like I do a lot in this city, like a lot. So a lot of people know me. I'm in all these different circles doing all these different things. So I'm like, I can't be dating every man that I want to because I don't want my business out there like that. So I have to date with a strategy. Like literally, I have to sit back and observe men before I allow myself to be open to them. So it's really like it's limited access because I just can't date everybody. So for even for me, like I feel like I would rather date somebody outside of the city than in the city because one, I don't want my business all out to all these different people that I'm engaging with, doing business with, trying to make some networking with, and then two, it's just like because I've been in these different spaces, I know a lot of the men, and it's just like it's very limited. It's very limited, but even when I do attempt, it's just like okay, sex. I understand men. Sex is their thing. Like that's just their genetic makeup. But men, please don't come at me like that. Don't come at me with that being your first objective verbally. That might be in the back of your mind, but don't verbalize that to me. Like date me. Like take me out to eat. I'm old school. Give me flowers. All that old school stuff. That's what I like. That's and a lot of men. I feel like some men don't want to do that because in this space, in this time and age, it's easy to get what you want when you want it and how you want it so quickly. And when a woman comes to them and she's like, no, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. Are you being a B? It's just too much. You being a B. No, it's just standards. That's it.
I will say one of the challenges, and I know y'all feel me when I'm about to say this, is that there are married people in the dating pool. Okay. Everybody that's in the dating pool is not single. And I'm much like Deanna, where I'm old fashioned. You're not going to catch me approaching a man. You're not going to catch me making that first move. Um, Earlier challenges that I encountered were because I was not clear about what it is that I wanted, and it was not clear about who I was absent of the trauma. And so part of my healing and a part of my work, I had to get clear. And what I know is I'm a wife. My husband is going to find me. And so once I got clear on that, everybody isn't an option. Everybody that comes my way can't take me to dinner. No, you can't have my phone number. I need to know more about what your intention is. I also am very public in terms of my career, and oftentimes that intimidates people. Um, Men are providers, and just in title alone, you might see my face on TV or on the internet or whatever, and automatically assume that there's not anything that you can do for me. But the reality is, I'm a woman. We need hugs. We like flowers. We like time and attention. And those are the spaces where men often think that dollars offset that, just the simple stuff. And so going back to, just answering that question, it's different now than it was when we were young. There's a lot of non-negotiables, things that were okay and acceptable, when we were in our 20s and our 30s. They're just not acceptable now. I have met men that are in their 50s sleeping in twin beds at their mother's house. I have met men who all they want is a roster. um, I have met men who I said, are in other relationships. There was a guy that I dated, didn't know because I wasn't clear about what it was I wanted, but he was engaged, had a whole separate house, had a whole different narrative. And I was going along with it, not knowing that the whole time this man was preparing to be married and walk down the aisle. So there's a lot of challenges. And I would just say, the recommendation that I would have is just be clear about what it is that you want, and then use the strategy in terms of that. Like, if you want to be married, then you know that. If you just want friends, then you know that. If you just want to date, then you know that. But everybody isn't an option to date until you're clear about what it is that you want.
So I totally agree, and I echo everything everyone said. I don't know if I've ever dated anybody in Columbus, Ohio, for the same reason that Diona said. It's a big city, but it's a small city, especially when you out in the community and you're doing a lot of work and a lot of people know you, right? And I'm a private person. That's my makeup. That's how I rock. That's who I am. And so trying to date in where I live it's been very hard. But let me be clear. Columbus men are also different as well, right? So that goes back to the old school versus new school, which I think new school has made it I don't know if I want to use the word easy, but they've made it a lot less work for men to date old school women, right? Meaning bringing flowers, and dating should be fun. Dating should absolutely be fun. If I have to sit up here and worry about X, Y, and Z, I don't want to date you because now it's become work, and I don't want to have to work to date you, right? The other part for me that has been a challenge is at 45, and not only am I single, I don't have children, right? So dating men with children that are under the age of 10, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you're a really good dad, but I don't want to date you. You're not available for me. And it's not being selfish, it's just that you're not available for me, right? And so just learning that as it relates to being in the dating pool is like, okay, I don't want to date anybody that has kids under 10 because I don't. So I need you to be, I want the attention to be on me. Not I got to get my little 4-year-old to sleep. What? So it's a lot that kind of goes into that. And I just want to say dating should be fun, but like Chanda said, you have to date with intentions, right? If you know exactly, because like me, I know now that I want a person. I want somebody that I'm waking up next to the pillow. I want someone who I can strategize and bring all of me to, right? And yes, I am loved and I have a whole bunch of people I can talk to, but I'm ready to have a life partner. And I think some of the layer work has gotten me there versus before a young girl growing up, not knowing if she wanted to be married or not because of what she saw. I've grown into that wasn't my story. That's just things that I grew into, but it doesn't have to be what I experienced. Does that make sense? So, this next question is for Diona and Jessica. What are some characteristics of your ideal life partner?
I would say someone that's definitely God fearing, someone that's family oriented, someone that's spontaneous, someone that loves to travel, someone that's into sports, someone that has charisma, that has humor, someone that's engaging, someone that can get down in the community, someone that is not jealous or over possessive, someone that is comfortable in who he is, someone that uh I don't know, someone that likes to smile, like, yeah, have fun, work ethic, got a good work ethic, someone that doesn't mind being open and vulnerable, um someone that's going to invest in me. Yep, they're going to invest in me. Yep. And it doesn't, and I'm not talking about financially, but like mentally, you're going to invest in me. Like, you're going to make sure that, like my needs are met. Whether it's me trying to get some stuff together for my job, my community, like whatever, you're going to help me strategize. Like, someone that's going to pour into me, someone that's selfless. Um, yeah, it's a lot, but that's this thing I got going on in my head.
I echo everything Deanna said. God fearing. How I wrote down four things. I said loyal, honest, kind, and empathetic. Because I feel like I'm too empathetic. Like, you could tell me a story. I felt like, even though I didn't go through it, I understand. I never have to go through that. I learned my lesson through you. And just seeing how people, I don't think I could ever be with somebody who wasn't empathetic and who, like, it comes off like you don't have a heart. I said kind because I feel like too kind to a fault, but I'm kind. I try to go out of my way to help people. And if I was ever with somebody who wasn't that same way, it would bother me. And I know it's not our job to take care of other people, but I think it makes me feel better, like I did all I could do. And I said loyal because I also feel like I'm a loyal person. And growing up, I've seen what being unloyal felt like, being in a home with parents who were dealing with some unloyal things. And I don't think I would have to scorch the earth, because thank God he has hidden me, because I don't think half the things I've experienced in my life and I've seen other people experience, I could have dealt with.
Chanda and Mahogany, you all want to take that question?
Queen Mother Jill Scott said, "If you can tell me what to do, you can tell me what to do." And if you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do. So just to piggyback off of what Jessica and Deanna said, all of that is valid. But for me, you need to lead this. I don't want to be the leader everywhere. Um, it can be interchangeable, but you got to have some leadership to you. We got to have a plan. We got to have a vision. Like, what are we going to do with this union that's going to be instrumental in making sure that we're making our community better, making our children's lives better, making our families' lives better. So for me, I would just add that one piece.
Amen. I feel like I'm in church, sans Shonda. I need that part there because I'm exhausted. But what I would say, in addition to what has been said, I definitely need someone who can stimulate my mind, prick my heart. I don't want to go into empty conversations and leave worse than when I came. As Deanna said, someone who is able to invest in me, not financially, but mentally, spiritually. And I'm a little opposite than Tamekia when it comes to children, because I do have small children. That this person really needs to be a good father, because I know what it is to experience a good father. My ex-husband is an amazing father. And I question when men are out here and they're not taking care of their kids. Now, I understand sometimes in the court system, things happen, but if you are purposely not taking care of your kids, I have a deep, deep problem with that. And it's no shade and it may sound judgmental, but as a mother who has an ex-husband who's an amazing father, that is something that's very important to me. Also, a person who does not live here, Diona, I'm with you in terms of, and Tamekia, because I do have small children, I don't have that time to necessarily give to that person, but the quality of time that I give will be good. It will be magical. It will be amazing. But my priority, my number one are my children. And so that doesn't have to be someone who lives out of town, but for me, because Columbus is a small city and we all know each other. And some folks say the folks here have been run through. I don't know. I've not been out there. I choose to go elsewhere. And to Chanda's point, I need a planner, someone who can plan because I'm exhausted. I don't want to be the only one trying to create this magical, beautiful union by myself. It takes two, and it takes more than one person being the planner. There needs to be some planning involved to make this work. And also this person needs to have a retirement plan because you can't have mine.
I love that. I do want to say it doesn't sound selfish at all. Listen, I will not date. I will not. Let me be clear. I will not date a man that is not taking care of his children. Okay. That's a non-negotiable for me. So it doesn't sound selfish because if you're not taking care of your kids, and I know my intentions at this point in life is to date with purpose. And it's still questionable about whether I want children or not. But if you're not taking care of them, so it's a non-negotiable for me. So it doesn't sound selfish at all because it speaks to character as who you are as a man and as a person, right? So it doesn't sound selfish to me at all. Listen, I want to be covered. Covered, okay? So I want to be covered. And I echo everything everyone said on here. But I will add, I need a risk taker. I'm a risk taker. I don't want to live by rules. Okay? Life is short. I don't want to live by rules. So if you can't be a risk taker with me, then you're probably not my person. But I do echo everything everyone said on here.
What if he's not a risk taker, but he supports you in your risks?
Give me more context to that. I need more context. Tell me what that means. Because if I'm a risk taker, meaning like, you know what, I'm about to go live over in Africa. You telling me you about to support it and you ain't coming? So give me more context to what you mean.
Example like that. Maybe he's not the one who decides he wants to move to Africa, but whatever risk you want to take, he's rolling with you. But he's not necessarily the initiator of the risk. But he's like, okay, my baby want to do that. Let's go. We're going to do that.
I'll take you. I'll date you. Listen, as long as you're not turning down the risk, you may not be able to initiate, but if you can't be like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even think about that because I'm coming to you, because I already feel like this is who I am, right? Tamekia at 45. You can't, the old Tamekia is gone. The 25, the 30-year-old, the 35-year-old, she's done too much work to get here, right? So if you not the initiator, that's fine. But if you can be like, wait a minute, you want to do what now? I support it. Let's do it, baby. Then we rocking, we rolling, okay?
Tamekia, hold on. I want to go back to Mahogany or Beverly when she talked about the 401k. So, like, honestly, when me and my friends go out, I'm like, wait a minute. This is honestly God. When we go out and I'm looking around, I'm like, wait a minute, honey. I'm like, I don't see nobody with no 401k. We got to get up out of here. Like, we got to go because, yes, I want a man with a bag. I do. But that bag represents security. Like, I want a man that I know, baby, if I'm on my face, you got us. If I'm on my back, you got us. Like, you gotta have a bag. I got a bag. I got a bag too. But I need to know that you got a bag as the man, as the one that with the provision, the provider. You gotta have that. I tell my friends all the time, like, if we ain't going nowhere where these men ain't got no 401ks, count me out, because there's no need for me to go fishing in this pond of dead fish. I need some fish with some money. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, no, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. So yes, a 401k, yes, ma'am.
Listen, that's true, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Here, you know what? I hate this question, or actually, I hate this statement when people say, "Well, where are the marriages like my grandparents?" or where we can struggle together. I don't want to struggle with you. I'm 45. I can do that by myself, right? And like Diona said, if something happened, if you can't, first of all, I'm already looking for you to be a leader, like Chanda said. But if something happened to me and you can't keep this thing going, you're not it, sir. And there's nothing wrong with saying I need you to have a 401k, because those are standards. And remember, I said earlier about when people say you need to lower your standards. What the hell do that mean?
That kind of goes back to what I was saying about the things that were non-negotiables when we were young are no longer negotiables. I'm 46 too. I'll be 47 this year. My oldest child is graduating from high school and my youngest is 10. I got some things to do. So I don't have time to be trying to figure out, whether or not you're going to drag me down or whether or not you're going to add value. Because in order to come over here, because I always tell people it's 3 priorities that I have. And of those top 3 priorities, in order to add a 4th, that means I have to subtract from the top 3 and it has to be worth it. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
I totally agree. This next question is for Mahogany and Diona. Share with me about loving and choosing yourself first. What have you learned in this process?
Yeah, so loving and choosing myself first. It is, I feel as though I'm in this very selfish season of my life, and I love it because I have made some decisions and some choices to choose myself and to love myself first. And it has not been very popular with friends and family and loved ones. And so um when you love and choose yourself first, it's unpopular, but you have to have the confidence to stand in it, to walk upright, and to stand flat footed because people are not always going to support your decisions. And one of the reasons why, like, I still have very close family members who have no clue I'm divorced, very close family members. Um, my mother passed in 2016. My father does not know I'm divorced. And so it is one of those things where in order for me to actually share, I have to get to a place of confidence, and it takes a lot of processing to get there. If I come to you in my weakest moment, people always got something to say that to alter your way of thinking. I have been in a private season and a choose me season for a little over a year now. And it is only because of me taking that time that I can come out and say, these are the decisions that I made, and I don't care what you have to say about them. And it's beautiful. It feels amazing. I've done things that I've never thought that I would do before. I'm doing a lot of things afraid, and I'm loving every moment of it. So for me, that's what it means.
For me, what I've learned in this space is that there's definitely security in saying no, where it was people pleasing, wanting to make sure that, I did this for this person to make sure that they love me or I got the love back that I wanted. Now it's just like, no, like, and I'm good. And what I mean with the security, like, like I'm protecting my peace. I'm protecting my space every time I say no to something that does not agree or line up to what I want to do. And just like you said, Mahogany, it's okay to be selfish, especially in this time when you're single and you've been in a place where you didn't know yourself, you didn't know what you wanted, you didn't know what made you happy, what made you cry. Now you in that space where I'm learning me. So I have to say no. Like, I mean, how do you think LeBron got where he got to? He had to say a lot of no's. How do we think, the president got to where they're at? They had to say a lot of no's to get to where they wanted to because it did not line up with their vision. And so for me, it's like, no, right now I can't care about how you feel because I saw where that put me at. And so just like, again, it goes back to just choosing me first. And it feels so good and doing it without a regret, like, no, period. And letting that be it and going on to the next thing. That's it.
So before I shoot this question out to both Jessica and Chanda, I want to challenge real quick whether or not that is selfish. Is it selfish? Let's define selfish.
I think it is what our interpretation of what others feel that selfish is, but for me, it's self-care. But the way others may view it, they could view it as me being selfish.
I agree with Bev on that one. I think when you because let me say this. People treat being single as it is a disability. And so because of that, people impose a lot of their thoughts and feelings on you. And so you kind of inherit some of that or you take that on. So I'm glad you pointed that out, that, is this really selfish or is it really, as Bev put it, self-care? And I would argue that whatever is best for you that's just it. And be unapologetic in that. You don't owe nobody nothing unless you got kids. And even in that, they're watching. They know more and see more. And when you make a decision to prioritize your peace and your space and your mind, and they notice that too.
So I had a situation. I asked that question because a few weeks ago I had someone, I made a decision, right? And I had someone tell me, well, that's selfish. That's selfish of you. And so I sat there and I thought about that thing and I thought about that thing. And I looked at the person. I said, I dare you. You won't call me selfish. Because if I don't know nothing else at this point in my life, I ain't got a selfish bone in my body. There has never been nothing selfish about Tamekia. Never. Right? And so I had to think about it like, man, somebody might have got that off some years ago. But now you don't get to call me selfish because I choose me.
But what, Tamekia, I think with the selfish thing, so like it's, to me, I feel like it's like when you have the capacity and capability of giving something to others and you're doing it with this malice behind it, that I'm not with a malice intention. But when you're saying I'm not going to do it out of, I need to really put me first in this soft way, it's not selfish. It's like, for real, like putting you first. Because one thing I used to tell my Zumba participants is, if you don't take care of yourself and take care of your health right now, and you don't put that first, you cannot be the mother you have to be to your children. You can't be the spouse you need to be to your significant other. You can't go perform your job the way you really need to if you do not put yourself first. So you have to. And then everybody else gets the overflow of what you already given yourself.
I agree. Anybody want to add anything?
Yes, I would say I echo once again what everybody has said. By choosing myself, I feel like being single, people automatically think you're free. In my case, you're free. You can do this, that, or the other. They don't have any concept of time. And I always felt like if I had kids or if I had a man, I could not be my excuse, but go like, I need to ask my husband first, or my kids have this. But choosing myself, I really got to see what makes me happy, what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to deal with. And also going to being like that selfish comment for 2024, it was like not my New Year's resolution, but my from this day forward, Jessica is going to be happy. Jessica's going to do what she wants. If I say no, that was a period. There was no questions. Like I always felt like people, and several people have told me this. Like, I think you just need to change your approach. You're coming selfish or you're rude. I've been nice, Jessica, for 31 years. I'm finally walking in. Oh, wait, not that I could be rude, but this person's been rude. They say no, they don't bother them. Now, when I finally say it's a no, it's a problem, or like somebody asked me to do something, and I politely said, I can do this, but not that. Have they called me to ask me anything else? But when I was saying yes to everything, when I was like the yes lady, yeah, I'll do this, I'll send this email, I'll make this graphic. Now it's an issue. You're selfish. Another example would be all my life, say it like I'm taking my dad to like the doctor appointment, or I'm doing this, I'll pick up this, and he would go to hand me a $20 bill. My whole life, I always said, it's okay, daddy, it's fine. No, I'll be blessed. 2024, you go to hand me a 20, thank you. Like, not, are you sure? No, thank you. Because, and somebody was like, that's not right. You shouldn't feel that way. It's not that. I'm trying to figure out in 31 years of living and never accepting something, what has that gotten me? And I'm not trying to be rude, blasphemy, or nothing in that. Like, obviously, I trust in the Lord. However, what is me not taking this done for me when in reality I needed it? So if I gotta be selfish, and I don't think we're being selfish, I just don't like that they're labeling people, or in my case, me. Don't label me selfish when I've been your constant, in my opinion, for our whole relationship.
Anybody else want to add anything? All right, so let's jump to the next question. This is a fun one. What's the youngest you'll date?
40.
Just 40?
That's it.
That's it? That's the cutoff?
Listen,
All
I
right,
don't want to be asking questions about what you did on Saturday. And if you weren't watching the Smurfs, we really ain't got a lot to talk about. I'm just saying.
That's funny. That's funny, says. I would say for me, it has to be an age where that person no longer wants to have children. And I don't want this person coming into a relationship with me saying, it's okay that you don't want children, and then it'd be a deal breaker later because I'm not having more children. So I'll be 47. I would say 42, 43. If you can hold a conversation with me, that age range is good.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. So let me add this. Let's make it even funner. We're gonna do youngest to the oldest you would date.
I'll date up to 53.
Yeah, I think that's a safe age. Because, okay, vain, right? They got to have their teeth. They got to have their teeth. You know, anything beyond that, I think is a little challenging because I think we've all kind of quoted our ages, but to some degree, we still have a lot of youthfulness left, a lot of get up and go, and that's important. I don't want to. I'm already taking care of aging parents. I don't need an aging spouse.
Well, Chanda, you don't want to be changing no diaper.
Not right now. Not right now. And have your teeth, please.
I don't know. I think for me, the youngest would probably be like 39. And the oldest would probably be like around that 53. But I'm not going to lie. Like, I've been getting hit up hard on like 32, 33-year-olds. And I'm like, sir, I'm probably old enough. They're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. They're like, I can take care of you, honey. But your mindset right now, you're not like. I just feel like they're not there at that age, and I'm not trying to play no more. Like, I'm done with the games. I'm done. I'm done. You're not about to send me on no emotional roller coaster with your 32-year-old self. Like, no, no, sir.
I would say, if I'm being honest, I really want somebody either the same age as me or older. And that's something I asked God to work with me. The example I have is my sister years ago, she dated somebody and she was only older by like a couple months. And the nickname the guy gave her was, look at my cougar, look at my cougar. And she was like, I'm only like 2.5 months older than you. Like, stop. Something about that whole interaction always bothered me. And I never could like just shake it off. So I said, Lord, first of all, I want what's in your will. If my husband's supposed to be this age or older, whatever, that's first. But I would say if I had to pick either like older than me, like same age, I would say the highest probably, I don't know, because that goes back to the plan. What is our goal here? Because, like, for me personally, I don't know if I want kids. I honestly, if I had to pick, I don't know if that's vain or not. I would say I'd rather the marriage before kids, right? If I had to pick one or the other. But then I'm like, if you ever see me pregnant, that means God wanted that baby here. I'm not going to push the issue. So I would say 45-ish, but then that goes with, do you have kids? Do you want kids? What, are you okay if we never have kids? And that's not, I'm not saying I'm not open to other discussions like adoption and fostering. I'm like, in this moment, it is what it is, whatever the Lord wants. But at the same time, I'm like, if I'm dating somebody 45, what what is your goal with me? And then what is our goal together?
So I agree because the conversations, the conversations are different. The conversations are different at 40, 45 than what they were at 30, 35, and 2025. If we was even having discussions at 2025, right? We was just like, we got together. Check the box. We boyfriend, girlfriend. You know what I mean? But being single and not having children, that's that's really the top of the list of the questions, right? Because there's a great area with me. Some days I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty good at moving at my own beat. Then there's other days like, yeah, I think I could do this thing, right? And so I've actually removed whether or not I want to have children. And I'm just like, you know what? Hey, whatever the universe, whatever God has for me is going to be for me, whether it be biological, whether it be a blended family, whether it be by adoption, right? And so because I am 45, I think that's an important question up front to ask somebody when they are wanting to date with intentions, right? Because a lot of people in this group, there's 45, 40, most of them have children already. And they like, yeah, I don't want to do this again. I'm good. So I think for me, the youngest I'll date, I'll probably go 5 to 6 years back. So maybe 39 to 40. Listen, I'm sorry. If you got them skinny pants with the high waters, we can't talk. you we can't talk. We cannot talk, okay? I feel like I'm probably old enough to be your mother. Um, I think the oldest I would date is probably 50 to 51. Although I have been seeing some men that's like 50. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I've always been an old soul, right? An old person. It's something about an old man that just captures my eyeballs. I don't know what it is. But I have lately been seeing men that's like 58, 59. And listen, I got contacts on now, but I wear glasses for real. So I look over my glasses like, say what now? You how old? But even to that, right? They got children that's probably about 30. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to gauge, but I'll say 50, 51. And if they're a little older, it's because, hey, they just captured my eyeballs, and we gonna date. We gonna do this thing. Do you want to be married? Anybody on here want to be married? Let's go, Chanda, Mahogany, and then we'll Diona and Jessica.
Absolutely. I said it earlier. I know that I'm a wife. I walk like a wife. I carry myself like a wife. So much so that I've been told that I look like I have a husband. But yes, I value the union. I value having that person, that safe space. Because I think, we kind of all have alluded to, what we do outside of our homes. And when you don't have that person, you don't really have those outlets or a lot of those safe spaces. All I need is that one person, like you said, Tamekia, that's when I wake up, you on that pillow. You get me together when I'm having my temper tantrums, or support me in my mess. Hold me accountable, love me, where I can be completely and totally who I am and not have to have any walls up. Because I think a lot of the spaces that we go into, there's different degrees of how we put our walls up. But I definitely see myself being married and find it. Well, my husband's gonna find me. That's how that's gonna go. But yes,
I would say for me, first of all, I love marriage. I loved being a wife, and I feel like I was a damn good wife. The season that I am in my life today, I would say no. That could change in about a year. What I am more interested in is companionship. And so often we can be married and not have companionship. And I'm desperate for that companionship. Someone I can travel with, someone we can go to dinner, I can go to dinner with, someone who I can have conversations with, someone who every day it's new, it's not mundane. That is really what I'm seeking eventually in my life. And I don't know, Tamekia, if you have this same show in a year from now, my answer could be completely different. But I'm going through a process right now. And while I love marriage, I loved being a wife. Right now, I just don't have the appetite to be married. But I would love true companionship.
Yes, I agree with everything that everyone has said. I do want to be married. Um, I found myself in December actually saying it a few times, like, yeah, like I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. But then it was so crazy because I started to look at a couple of YouTubes that definitely honed in on singleness. And after watching those YouTubes, I was just like, okay, Lord, I'm going to just focus on my singleness in hopes that that will attract the man that's for me, because I never want to be in a position where I feel or seem to be desperate to want a mate. I don't want that, because I know out of desperation you get whatever. So my thing is just being complacent in my singleness and doing what I need to do in this time, with again the hopes that the man that's for me is going to be attracted to me, everything and vulnerable, just like Chanda said. I could be super vulnerable, be naked, complete, and just be me, as if I am who I am now with nobody around. That's how I want to be with my mate. And I feel like too, that's an indication of me knowing that he's the one, where I could be super vulnerable.
I agree. I feel like I've always pictured myself being a wife. That was all like the school I was going to, the variables may change, but that was still the outcome. And growing up, I know it was meant to be a compliment, but that's always stuck in the back of my mind. My grandpa, when my grandma was teaching me how to cook, I would make his plate. I go like, Papa, you want ice in your iced tea? What do you want? You go like, oh, I just love you. You're gonna make somebody a great wife one day. And I'll be smiling, going, I'm sorry, smiling, walking back to the kitchen, like, ooh, Papa say it now. Because my grandpa was very not strict, but he was very like by the book. You're going to be a wife. I believed everything he said. And just like, I just never pictured my life not being one. However, I've been very intentional, let's say starting 2024, asking God to First of all, if something I want is not in your will, I want you to remove it. I want you to remove the idea so much that I've never fathomed that thought. If somebody, you a year from now, you come to tell me, Jessica, what did you? And I'm like, I never had that conversation. I never wanted to be married. That's how much I want it removed because I want what God wants for me most of all. But like going back, I want that person. I could wake up with a pillow, smell my morning breath. I could have my jelly roll out. I could be hubba eating. We're gonna do round robin. We're gonna get Arby's fries. We're gonna get this chicken. Oh, you want go ahead. I want it too. I want to be the person where I can just be my true, authentic self, when I can laugh and just be silly and not so serious. Also, that person who can, like you said earlier, like fill my cup because I'm always emptying myself. I want somebody to go like, honey or babe, like just calm down. You don't have to fix everything. And just bring me back to Zen. Bring me back to one. You're okay. You don't have to save the world today. I got you. That's what I want.
Okay, so I echo everything everybody said. Did everybody get a chance to answer? Deanna, you wanted to go? Go ahead.
No, I already said it. I'm going to say I'll let you do your thing, and then there was a thought I had as Jessica was talking. Oh, okay. So I heard Jessica say that she has always imagined herself being a wife, and that even when she was a little girl, she fixed her grandfather's plate and asked him what he wanted, and he said those things to her. Like for me, and I wonder if it's like the tone in black women in a black child's home. Like, are we groomed to be wives? Or are we groomed to be successful? Because I've never said, and all transparency, I want to be a wife when I grow up. I want to make a man happy. But I did say I need to go. I'm going to school. I'm getting this degree. I'm about to get this job. I'm going to get this money. I'm going to get this house. I'm going to have this car. I did say those things and wanted those things to manifest. And it's crazy because I do dream boards every so often, like so many years. And I can literally tap into different areas of that dream board. But when it comes to the relationship part of the dream board, I always leave that last when I'm trying to connect with it. And I find it very hard. I would find it very hard to connect with that. And it's just like, it was like, why is that there? Why is that there? But I've started part 2 of my therapy, and I'm going to a therapist now, my therapist now for that part, like wanting to be able to connect to that. Because in every other area I can, and I can make some stuff manifest. But in this relationship stuff, I'm like, why? You know?
So it's funny that you said that because I was writing some stuff down as everybody was talking, and I said early on that I was never that person that said she wanted to be married. I wasn't exposed to healthy marriages, right? But being where I am now, I do want to be married, right? Like I'm very clear about that. I know I want to be married, and I know the reasons why. I know that I am a wife, right? I know I'm not created just to be dating and just having fun, and I know there is purpose. But I also know I'm in a space now to where whoever my person is, whoever my husband is, I know there's teachings that need to be done, right? Back to what Deanna said about where we groomed for certain things, right? And so I want myself, even I think I can do some things being single and teaching young girls on how to date, but I think it's even more powerful for myself and my husband to be able to teach both young men and women on how to date, how to communicate, how to love yourself, how to love one another, right? And I think in our community, that's one of the things that we lack is that we're not taught certain things. We're not taught how to date, right? We're not taught that we're not taught to date to be a wife. We're not groomed like other cultures are, right? And so for me, it's like that would be one of the powerful things that I think my person and I that we could do together, with the younger generations behind us, because I believe in community raising, right? And so it's just one of those things I think will be one of our tasks that's given to us.
Tamekia, can I add something to that? When you talk about community, it really resonated with me. And I was reflecting over here and how I said that I don't want to be married at this time again. And I wonder if it's because being a church baby, how the church views divorce. And because I've been divorced twice, I oftentimes feel as though I'm not worthy to be married again, to be a wife, because in the back of my mind, I messed it up twice. And so I think that that's part of the why behind how I answered that question. I made it about myself in terms of this is why the season, what have you, but is it really because of the root of the church? Not blaming the church, but how I was raised. And maybe I just can't get it right. Maybe marriage is not my thing as much as I loved it. But I think deep down, I may not feel worthy enough to be married again because I haven't been successful at it twice. So I just wanted to throw that out there as to maybe that may be the why in how I answer that question.
May I add something? So, going to back with what Diona said, were we like groomed in a sense? And I never. It wasn't till you said it that I thought like, wait a second, was I? Because I remember growing up, I used to watch Guiding Light with my Bold and Beautiful Guiding Light, and As the World Turns with my grandma, and like so after we got out of school, Guiding Light was on. So I would rush off the bus, go to my grandma. We watched Guiding Light together. Then Maury, who came on at 4, I would watch Maury while I did my homework. And I'll never forget my grandpa would make those comments like, well, you need to go help your grandma prepare dinner. You need to do this. Can you iron my pants? And like growing up in the church, you're taught no sex before marriage. You don't drink. You don't do this. You don't do that. It's always the church telling us how to live to be good people. You're not a good people if you have sex before marriage. And it wasn't until she said that I was like, maybe. I don't want to accept the fact that I may have been groomed, but or we're conditioned to think life is supposed to go this certain way. If you don't go A, B, C, D, you can't go to J. You have to go this way. And if you don't, like sometimes I feel like I'm left out because not that I didn't follow the path, I did everything in church terms or worldly terms the right way. And not that I don't have anything to show for it, but like, look where it's gotten me. Whereas everybody else in my life, my sisters had boyfriends, she did this or did that. Let me try to do half the stuff she tried to do. I'll be jacked up. And it's like, it feels unfair. But then that's when I go back to Lord, you have me here for a reason. And that's that.
I just want to jump in real quick. Excuse me. I wasn't raised in the church. I'm just gonna put that out there, right? But I think there are some. Oh, I want to be. I don't have to be careful with my words. This is my show. I think there are some misconceptions when it comes to the church, right? And if people were really honest, the people in the church that are judging and got the answers to what's going on in your life, if they really reveal what was going on behind doors with them and be honest, I feel like a lot of us wouldn't be where we are right now, right? And even to, like our parents and the generations before us, we wouldn't be here now trying to figure shit out and dealing with trauma, right? And so I want to make sure, because in the event that a young person hear this, there is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in this at all. We are all trying to you go through life and you go through experiences. Once you go through that experience, you should have a lesson from it. From that lesson, you should be able to share it. And that's why we're here now, because from lessons, you should be able to teach the next person, right? We learn it and we should be able to teach the next person. So I want to make sure, even to our younger audience, because even to them, some of that stuff that we go through, it could be passed off, and it could be passed off as judgment. And there shouldn't be any judgment. We should be able to come to them, share our stories, offer advice, and let them know, like, listen, I've already walked this path, and if you walk it, this is what you can potentially end up experiencing. Okay? But I just feel like if church folk were to be more honest and not be so judgmental and not have those cookie cutter answers, I think we will be in a better place. And I just wanted to say that, because I just wanted to say it. So I did. That's where we are. Anybody else want to have anything they want to add?
Well, to answer the question about other cultures and grooming, the answer is yes, right? There are other cultures who, up until college, they put their daughters in homemaker programs, right? Teach them how to keep a home, how to bake, how to cook, how to sew, how to take, the goods that their husband brings home and make it plentiful, right? But they're also taught to go to college and find that husband. And in education is secondary. You can get an education anywhere, anytime, right? But go to that college, go to that university to find your husband. If we think back to the time period where we were being raised, our toys were households, right? Dream Barbie had a big old house. She had Ken, she had those kids, and they had the car, the carriage, they had all of those things. And so even as a child, we played house on the playground. So the messaging was there, whether it came from our parents or whether it came from the culture in the times that we lived in, particularly. It was everywhere that you looked. I mean, you had your gifts were baby dolls. Like today, kids, that's not a primary go-to, but we were definitely conditioned to look at it that way.
I think if I can just share, I wish I would allow myself a space in my earlier life to date, because I only saw my mom with two men, which was my dad and then another guy, well, who we call our stepfather, but she never did get married to him. I never seen her date. Neither did my father inject for whatever reason. I understand now that I'm older. He just wasn't there for us. But I feel like if he would have interjected himself into our lives when I was in, that high school era, and just kind of showed me what it was to date men, I would have been able to have that experience with men. For me, it was just if I saw a man or if I connected with a guy and I was just really feeling him, I would stop. I'm not going to date nobody else because I don't want to have sex with nobody else. I just want to be with one person. I want to do everything with one person and did not allow myself to date. And so now fast forward after saying, okay, I got this healing, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's about me. Now I'm dating kind of late in the game and coming up with all these, no, I'm not going to say, but
Diona, you and I are a lot alike in that I was the same way. I will share my first marriage. We got married because I was pregnant and because I wanted my child to be blessed. And the church, and I'm not trying to put a dim light on the church, but how I was raised, you don't have children out of wedlock. And what came of that was a failed marriage. I was very young. I got married at 21 and we were married 12 years. Then we divorced and I was single about 2 years before I started dating my second husband. And so I am like you in that I've never, and I shared this at the beginning of the show, never really dated. And I think that sometimes people equate dating with having sex. Now we do know that exists and that is out there, but that's not my definition. And something you said earlier, Diona, about how when you have standards, sometimes men, not all men, but some men will say, okay, you got standards, someone's going to give it up quicker. So I'll just go on over here and mind my business with this other person. Right. And so And that's okay. You do that because that lets me know about your character. But I do want to get to a place where I'm able to date intentionally and date without having that worry or burden of them wanting something else from me, but just to get to know someone and enjoy life, right? And so I, like you, am starting out at a very older age. I'll be 47, and here I am, never really have dated before, and I have no clue where to start, what to do. But you resonated with me because it's very similar in that we tend to get with someone and stay for long periods of time or what have you, and that dating piece is completely missing out of my life.
So I wanted to add to, because we talking about the long periods of time of dating and being transparent with a purpose. What I've learned is that I was recycling people, right? Because it was a lot easier, right? It was a lot easier for me to keep going back to person A, person B, because they had been around for 15 years, 20 years, or however many years, right? And so while being transparent with the purpose, I want to make sure that I express, listen, men know what they want. Okay. And in dating with with intentions, if I had to tell my younger self or any other young person, especially as we talking about grooming, do not let anybody hang around for 10, 15, 20 years waiting for them to pick you. Right? Because I also felt like there was a part, although, because I'll take ownership, I didn't really know what I wanted, but I also knew what I was doing was recycling because it was safe. Right? And also thinking that this is going to be my person, this is who I'm going to marry, when we don't have to put everything in one basket, when we make dating just fun, especially when we remove the sex part of it and just have fun with it and date and be like, do we vibe? What is the energy? What do I feel when I'm around you? When you walk in a room, do I smile? Do I get on a high vibration just seeing your ass? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And I think that's the whole part of teaching the younger generations behind us to date with understanding what it is you like about the person. What is it that you like about yourself being with this person? What do they bring out in you? What do you bring out in them? You know? I just wanted to add that piece because I know in the dating realm for me that I realized like I was recycling. I don't know if recycle is a good word, but we're gonna use that word. We're gonna use that word. I don't know if recycling was the healthiest choice or decision that was good for me. Right. Let's jump into the next question. This next question, we're gonna do Chanda, Jessica, then Mahogany, Diona. What did you learn in your last relationship?
So I did date someone last year before, and it was a long distance relationship. And um, there were some red flags like pretty early on that I chose to ignore. Um, and I've learned to trust myself. And a lot of the work that I said a little earlier, I didn't understand the difference between my trauma and my intuition. And so a lot of my work has been to understand my trauma, and understand the triggers that are associated with that trauma. Um, and so, as much as I'm loyal, because I'm loyal, I'm so loyal to a fault. Like it, it's unnatural how loyal I am, and I was committed to doing the work, but I wasn't paying attention to the fact that the individual wasn't committed to doing the work too. There was a lot of deflection, a lot of blaming, and not a lot of accountability, right? So what I learned is that I need to stand on business when it comes to those red flags, and turn those into non-negotiables. Especially when you have a conflict or you have a conversation and it's not received well, and then it turns into you being the problem when you were just trying to explain how you feel about a situation. That's not really going to go anywhere, and that's not really going to improve. And so for me, I learned, to kind of put that loyalty on this on that back burner, and let those red flags tell me the truth that they're telling me.
I would say so, like I've said before, I've technically never been in a relationship. So I'll tell you this. So I went on a date years ago, and if you were to ask my friends, they would say you had a boyfriend for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Because we talked for like a week and then we finally went on a date. And I think in that moment I was so happy that somebody picked me. I was using all the emotions, just being normal Jess. My favorite emoji is a heart. So I'm sending hearts and we're just talking. And they were like, Jess, you had a boyfriend for a week. Why would you send all these emojis? Why'd you do this and that? And I would say, I was so excited to finally go on a date. I had my first kiss that day. I'll never forget. My sister was like, oh my God, you kissed him? And I remember I cried and I was like, oh Lord, like I didn't know the do's and don'ts. I would say I'm in a better place now because not anybody could just come up and just try to text or DM or try to do anything. However, I would say that experience made me take a step back, stop being eager to be like the pick me girl, like finally, thank you, Lord. However, I also say, in that relationship, quote unquote, it was a lot of red flags, and I think I overlooked it because I was just so happy to be picked. I'll never forget. It was like my best friend at work at the time. She was like, "You should date my brother." Brother, so I heard all about these good things about the brother, and it wasn't until I asked the question and I knew he had 2 kids. And we're texting, and he was like, "Yeah, I haven't seen my kids in like I think at that time had to be 5 years." And he tried to like write it off was like baby mama drama. And I never forget, I was looking up flights to Florida. I think they were in like Orlando. I was looking up flights because I wanted him to see his kids. And it wasn't until I was like, I was about to hit send. Like I was so, no, you about to see your kids. You with me, you taking care of your kids. Then I was like, first of all, you've only known this man technically a week. This is a red flag. You know how it feels for a father not to take care of you. Why are you talking to this man? Then after the date, even though the date went nice, it was just one thing after the other. When I finally, like in essence, got the first kiss, the first date out the way, it was like I was back to my old self, and I was like, "This man is crazy." And I started having regrets. I was like, "Why did I ever go out with this person?" And it wasn't until my mom was like, "You live, you learn. Like, just stop. Don't beat yourself up. Like, you were never in a relationship. You went on a date. You had a good time. You realized, move on." But I would say, like, that's just something like I think about often. I'm like, I'm trying not to beat myself up about, but I still think about constantly, like,
Thank you for that, Jessica. I love you so much, Jessica, and I appreciate how vulnerable you are in this space, and I'm learning a lot from you. So thank you for sharing your experience. I would say I learned a lot after my last relationship, and one of the things I learned to do was to start speaking life into myself. Because one of the things I did not want to do in a vulnerable space was to jump on a man who called me beautiful. And so what I've done is said, I know I'm beautiful. I know I'm confident. I know I'm smart. I know I'm intelligent. I know I'm all of these things so that I'm not dependent on a man to tell me these things. I already know those things about myself. I've also learned how to put the people in my life in categories because that helps me with my expectations of them. And that helps me to not be let down. And so a lot of what I've learned is to speak life into myself after this last relationship.
I'm probably gonna echo you a little bit, Mahogany. I feel like I've learned in my past relationship is not to have expectations. And I don't mean not to have the non-negotiables or not to have the standards, but just not having an expectation of a person which limits them to what capacity they could do for you. And it also puts you in a position where you're upset because they can't do the things that you expect them to do. And without having expectations, I feel like what it does is to make it creates the relationship to be fun because it allows this person to operate in their true space and who they are, and then also it allows you to see them for who they are without expecting them to be something or do something that they may not have the capability of doing, and you getting all stressed out because they can't do it. Like, nah, just let the expectations go. And if they can't do what you really need them to do, then that's when you throw it like, I gotta go. Like it's just not going to work. But with having those not having expectations, it just makes the relationship, I feel like, be much more funner, much more relaxing, much more peaceful, and kind of creates this space of organic, let things happen organically.
Um, hmm. I put the question out there and I'm like, huh. Guess I have to answer it, don't I? I would say my last relationship, hmm. I would say my last relationship taught me what I want in my next. It definitely taught me that I don't want to do long distance. Okay. Um, hmm. It taught me a lot as it relates to how a man is supposed to make you feel. Like I know what it feels like to be adored. I know what it feels like to be the only person in the room. I know what it feels like for someone to push me to my best. I know for what it feels like for someone to be like, you need to come from the back and get in the front. Ain't nothing wrong with for the light to shine on you, right? Um, so while I know what those things make me feel, and I know I need to be able to feel them in my next relationship, like I can't accept anything less. If I don't feel any of these things, then it's because I won't take nothing less, right? So I'll leave it there. I think. You know what? No, I'm gonna add this too, because while I feel those things, I also feel like it was a neglect of being able to be first, right? So I know going forward, I know I want to be able to be first. Our relationship needs to be first. Because when you are an individual doing multiple things in the community, in your job, and you wear a lot of hats, sometimes I feel like it's not necessarily hard, but it's a learning process where you have to learn where to put the relationship. Right. And so my last relationship taught me where the relationship needs to be, and it needs to be first. So anybody have anything else they want to add before we jump into the next question? All right, so the next question, because we are in the month of February, and everybody always, I've never been a Valentine's person, but Valentine's is a big deal to people. I mean, it's a huge deal. I want to know, does Valentine's mean anything to you? So we'll do Diona, Chanda, Jessica, and Mahogany.
I don't know. I don't know if it means anything to me. And I think that I'm saying that because like I never had like a real true, well, I mean the guy that I was engaged to, yeah, I mean he gave me stuff, but I don't know. It's just it's whatever. I mean for real because shit, I've been single. Like it's I don't know. Maybe it'd be different if I was in a relationship because I would want to do something. But me being single now, I mean, like I was with my friends, me and my girls, we kicked it, and made our own Valentine's. And I mean, it was just as great. So I don't know. I don't know. I can, yeah.
I can say that I've never had a Valentine, even though I may have been in relationships. What I mean by that is the individual I was with didn't care for it anyway. But the reality is that there were other things going on, toxic trauma, with all of that type of thing. I think that if I were in a relationship, a healthy, good, strong relationship, I wouldn't care, because you hear that cliche term of every day with a person is Valentine's Day. And I think that's more of what I care about than the actual day itself. But I've never had a date.
Um, okay, I feel bad saying this, but to me in my life now, I know what the ultimate goal I want Valentine's Day to be, but my reality is it's just another day. Literally, like, before Valentine's Day, you go to Walmart, you go to all the stores, you see all the stuff. So I knew it was coming, but it wasn't till my mom and I were watching Married at First Sight, and she was like, "I'm hungry." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. Let's just go find something in the kitchen. Like, just eat a bowl of cereal if you're so hungry." And she was like, "No, you've been talking about pancakes. Let's go to IHOP." I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And she was like, "This is your Valentine's Day gift." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I was just like, I've never had a Valentine to be like all gushy over. Like, I've gotten my mom and sister like a Valentine's Day card, but personally, like, I feel like aside from that, I've never had the option of being able to say this is my Valentine's Day, or other than like in elementary school, they used to have like the little card that says two, and it was like a requirement. Everybody had to get one. It wasn't like I could give it to Johnny. No, the whole class. So it wasn't like, oh, my crush Johnny got me something. But honestly, Wednesday was another day. I probably wouldn't felt some type of way if I was like stayed off Instagram, Facebook, everybody posting their flowers and they going to Ruth Chris or Jeff Ruby's. I probably wouldn't have felt some type of way. But I honestly, it wasn't until I was snug under that blanket watching Married at First Sight that I said, "Oh, it is Valentine's Day." And my mom was like, here's your gift. I'll pay for your dinner." And I was like, "Thank you." But it wasn't until I was like, I would admit I was salty in a sense. But it was like, it was honestly another day, because it's like I've never felt how it feels to be a Valentine or to get something. You know what I mean?
So I guess my take is a little different. I absolutely love Valentine's Day. And the reason why I do is because I've had to reimagine all of the holidays. They're not what they used to be. And I've learned to not equate holidays to a man, specifically Valentine's Day to a man. And I feel like Valentine's Day specifically is an opportunity for us to remember to check on our loved ones, to remember to pray for our loved ones. The hustle of the day, sometimes we forget about checking on one another. But because of the reminder of Valentine's Day, I take that extra effort to reach out to someone who I may not have had the opportunity or the time to reach out to before, just to let them know that I love them. It's bigger than a man for me. It's about my family. It's about my sands. It's about my loved ones, friends, and family. And so for me, I absolutely love Valentine's Day because it's an opportunity for me to slow down and think of those who I love.
That's a good one, Shannon.
Yeah, I was about to say I definitely and so wait a minute, let me make sure I clear some things up for the audience in the event that people don't know when we say sans what we mean. So there's a few of us on here that are line sisters, and I'm just gonna say it. So Chanda, Jessica, Mahogany, we are line sisters, right? We belong to there's a few things we have said on here, so I'm not going to say the organization, but we are in the same organization. So we are line sisters. And then Diona, she is my sis from Dayton, Ohio. So when we are saying sans in the event that anybody on that's listening or watching don't know what we mean, that's what we're referring to, that we are line sisters. But I definitely, I've never really looked at it like that, Mahogany. I never I never looked at it like that. And if I'm honest, I think I said it earlier. I've never I've never been that. Let me be clear. I don't know if I really get into it with any of the holidays. My birthday is the only holiday I care about. That sounds crazy, but the whole month of November, okay, that's all I really care about. So when it comes to something like, and I think because a lot of it is commercialized, right? You go into the store, you're supposed to spend all of this money, but I don't know if that equates to love, right? Like, if the only time you're gonna buy me flowers or candy or jewelry is on this particular day, throw it in the trash. I don't want you or it. Okay. But I do like the spin on it is a moment to stop, right? Because we are busy people, but it's a moment to stop and reflect and let me do a rundown and check on everybody that's within reach, my lifeline, the people that I love that's in my circle. So I do like that spin. I appreciate it. And I think going forward, I will consider taking that as an approach. So thank you for that. So we are about to wrap up. And we got surprise questions for y'all. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for the surprise questions? Yes, y'all are. Diona, stop shaking your head. Okay, so listen. The surprise questions before we wrap up, and we're going to go in this order on both of the questions, right? Chanda, Diona, Jessica, and Mahogany. These are what we call rapid fire growth questions. Share one of your affirmations that is really important to you being a single woman and that you would tell another single individual or a younger single person, one of our teens in the event that they're listening.
Now you know I don't have no affirmations. I believe in grace. I believe in trusting yourself. I believe in everything happens as it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. So for the young people, I think it's most important to identify your passion, and the rest will fall into place. So if you don't have a significant other, or you have made some mistakes, or you have lived some of our experiences, first and foremost, give yourself some grace. Um, Learn from whatever it is that the lesson is trying to teach you and move forward. Don't allow it to be something that you continue to resonate on. Like, what is it? What is the thing that you can learn from it, and move forward? And that would be, where I would leave that at.
I think I would say really take time to just relish in your singleness and just, as we've been saying, get to know who you are. Um, know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, know what makes you cry, what you feel like you can tolerate, what you cannot tolerate. Like, spend time by yourself, like, even being in your home, not having anything on, and just really sitting there in the space by yourself. Because a lot of times, if you listen to people, we are afraid to be alone with even our own thoughts. And it's just like, that's scary to think of, that we are so used to being in the company of someone else that we don't even want to be alone by ourselves. But how do you teach someone how to treat you if you first don't know what it feels like to be received, to receive whatever, or even just to know or treat yourself the way that you want to be treated? You can't teach someone if you don't know that. And so I would say, just spend as much time as you can, like, honing in on your singleness.
I would say if I was to speak to like my little sisters or my younger self, my 15-year-old self, something I've been telling myself, or telling myself a lot lately is it above you? It's literally at God's feet above you. Let God handle it. Another phrase I would say is it in God's will? If I was supposed to win the Mega Millions, I would have won the Mega Millions. It was not in God's will for me to enter Powerball, whatever. And I think if not that I wish I could go back. I wish I enjoyed life more in essence. I laughed more. I wasn't so serious, wasn't asking so many questions. I wish my plan was like not as A, B, C, D. It was if A happens, okay, then we could do this. I wish I could like just tell myself to just live more, be happy. Like tomorrow is not promised. The next 10 seconds are not promised. Living 2024 like that has been like eye-opening because I realized I'm happy and I was doing too much. And like to younger people, I'm just like, live your life. Like I actually like being single because my mom always says, like, you better enjoy it now because when you get a man or you get kids or this or that, like I like being able to watch all my shows uninterrupted. I love reading books. I could read a book in a day. And like even now, if my mom or sister come in, I'm like, please 2 more sentences and I'm good. Or let me pause. And I realize, like, am I prepared for somebody constantly interrupting me? If I could tell a younger person, just be happy, live your life. Don't worry about, like somebody else said, I don't want to down the church. In essence, church, like God is our foundation, right? Stop being so strict because if you know what those people, like they say, don't throw stones to if you have a glass house, that is never or like a truer statement. And I also said earlier, like technically the only relationship or positive relationship I saw was my grandparents and like probably people from church, but nobody else, everybody else was aunties and uncles and stuff, and they were all single. And relating it to the church people or people in general, it's sad when you know somebody's secret and like you held them in a high regard. And I'm not trying to put them down, but it's different when you know certain things. You realize, oh, I do not want a marriage like that. My whole life you've been the saints at the church, and I'm like, in the name of Jesus, I would never have a marriage like that. I wish I wouldn't, like, in essence, idolize certain things. Yeah.
All right. So the benefits of being last. I have a lot to say now. So one thing I would say to young people is, and we hear this all the time, but just letting them know that they are enough. You are enough. And in this fast-paced world, you have not missed a single thing, and to create their own path. And one thing that I would say too is to not succumb to peer pressure. One of the things that I saw on Chanda, you posted something on Facebook, and this is the only caveat to not succumbing to peer pressure, is when the person peer pressuring you is encouraging you to be a goal digger. GOAL, goal digger. If someone is pushing you to your best, you succumb to that peer pressure. But any negative peer pressure, you do not have to succumb to because you are enough.
So, Mahogany, you actually said what I was going to say, and that was don't let anyone pressure you. Especially, they live in a world where everything is at their fingertips. And what they think they see on social media, and, we Facebook and IG, and they got a whole bunch of other different apps that I absolutely don't know nothing about. But they are faced with a lot of pressure, right? And I feel like we probably were, I'll speak for myself. I was probably, I wasn't as a sheltered child, and I was probably, like exposed to some things, but they are exposed to everything, right? Everything is in front of them. And so they have a lot more pressure than what we ever had as growing up. And so you said what I would say to them is do not let anyone pressure you, especially in being in relationships and having sex or wanting to do something that you don't want to do. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. Okay. The next question is, and we'll go in the same order. Name a book or a self-help tip that has helped you in your growth development as a woman or in relationships. Chanda, Diona, Jessica, Mahogany.
Since I don't have one. I don't have a book. I don't have time to read these days.
Book or, so it's book or self-help tip.
I'm always going to tell people to learn their trauma. I'm sorry. I just am. Learn your trauma. And the thing about healing is that you don't heal the trauma. You learn how to respond to your triggers. So everybody has them to whatever degree they are. I think Bev said it before that we get in the habit of suppressing our feelings. And oftentimes that's the result of being in survival mode, right? All of those layers need to be explored. All of those things need to be addressed. I'm sorry.
Doggy said she got something to say too.
But I would strongly encourage people to address those things, particularly before you try to explore any type of relationship. Find out what those things are, deal with them, and be your best self before you try to move forward.
For me, Tamekia, I think I told you this book. It was by this lady, this author lady that used to come on the Ricky Lake show. And after I got out of my very first traumatic relationship, I immediately got her book because I saw it on Ricky Lake. But it was the 10 bad decisions women make with relationships or something like that. I forgot the name of it, but that book, I kept reading it over and over and over again to just get accustomed to some of the decisions that I saw myself make when it came to picking a male that I wanted to be with.
I don't have a book. I don't have a book. However, I would say I agree with everyone when they said earlier, don't feel pressured. And I feel like all my life I'm going to ask questions, and it, I guess, gets annoying to some people when they're like, why are you asking that? Why are you doing this? I'm very by the book, or in essence, verbatim, because I realize, okay, I did not realize it's okay to make mistakes. And I'm always asking questions, and I'm like, you said ABCD, right? So I'm always clarifying because I felt like I always had to be my best. Jessica had to be on her A game. Jessica couldn't be the one talking to boys, doing this, doing that. I will also say, like, choose yourself. You don't have to be everywhere at all the time. If you see something on Facebook, like, I used to get so upset I wasn't invited. Now I'm like, not that I don't care, but it's like I wasn't invited. I don't need to know no details. I don't need to know who was there. Like, if I was supposed to be there, the Lord would have made a way that I was on time, safely there, enjoying all the festivities. And it's okay to not be involved. And just remember, like, who you are and whose you are is the most important. And just being okay with being by yourself, in essence.
So I agree with what everyone has said. I am a quasi bookie, but I cheat. I do the audiobooks. And so I was thinking about a book that I recently read. It wasn't the last book that I read, but when I thought about it, it was the most impactful. And it was a book called First Ladies. And it was around the friendship and relationship of Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune. And the beauty of their relationship at that time was the courage that it took for them to ensure that their relationship remained intact amongst the adversities that they were dealing with. And I think what I got from that book is good relationships matter. Good relationships matter. You can be in a toxic friendship, you could be in a toxic marriage. The thing of it is, you don't have to stay there. And that book just resonated with me because they chose, even in the midst of adversity, to continue having this strong relationship unto death. And it was just such a beautiful story of their love as friends. And I would just encourage others to cherish their good friendships, cherish their good relationships, and invest in them. Take the time to reach out, to show love, to pray for them, because true friends, the saying is true, true friends are hard to find. And so when you have them, keep them. And I find that in marriage, you can be friends with your spouse, you can be friends with your mate, your partner, whomever. Cherish them and take care of them.
So the self-help tip I would add is you have to get to the root of things. And so sometimes that's starting with self and then going backwards. And going backwards meaning you have to, ask those hard questions to parents, to grandparents, aunts, uncles, to anybody that can help you understand exactly why you're dealing with what you're dealing with, right? And it's not easy. And it may bring up some ugly truths. But I think in order to heal some of the things that we're talking about, specifically trauma and triggers, is that you have to understand where it starts from. You have to understand the story. And to understand the story, you have to go backwards and ask those hard, difficult questions, which a lot of times we don't necessarily like because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to live in your truth or to tell your truth. And so that would be one of the tips that I would say is to really sit with yourself, figure out what it is that you are dealing with, and then pull back and go backwards and start asking questions. We are getting ready to wrap up. Is there anything on here that anybody want to ask, share, that we did not talk about or that I did not ask? Nothing? All right. Well, I want to say thank you, Chanda. Thank you, Diona. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mahogany, for coming on and saying yes to Happy Hour Conversations. I am your girl, Tamekia R. Moon. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, IG, YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where we are sharing real stories, real life problems. And listen, y'all see now, we just laugh. We just have a good old time, all right? I am your girl. We are out. Peace. Catch you all later. Thank you for tapping in to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia and engaging with our sister friend tribe, where voice matters, laughing is medicine, and redefining her identity is essential. Be sure to follow us on IG at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast. I am your girl, Tamekia, and I'll see you next week.